Welcome to RevMD Podcasts with me, your host, Dr. Deborah Durst, and my co-host.
Hey guys, Farideh Golombieski, family nurse practitioner here at Revitalize MD.
So today we have a podcast that is going to talk about all the hormones that affect sexual function and
how
better
they play a
sexual
role
function. Yeah, and how they
and what
play
they
a
do.
role. And there'll be some unexpected ones, so stay tuned to the very end because there's some that you may not even heard of. So, well, let's start with the main one that you would think about, and that is testosterone. Yeah.
Right? Across the board.
Everyone thinks about testosterone and they also think that, again, that's the only role it plays. So when we're talking about testosterone optimization, frequently people are acting as if that's all it does is improve
And
sexual
referring
function.
only to men.
Yes, and only men, correct. So issue number one is it's the most circulating hormone in a woman's body too, and optimization for women is key, and testosterone affects their sex drive, and so it does help with low sex drive. But there's other roles for testosterone besides just drive, which is more of a brain issue in my mind. But there are also receptors for testosterone in the actual vaginal tissue and the clitoris and all of that. And we have actually done a study that looked at the role of testosterone
and it helps increase blood flow
in the clitoris. So that's one of those. And so it actually has receptors in the GU tissue for men and women. So it plays a role in the actual function and erectile tissue in both men and women. So
absolutely. So that's the first one. That's the one I think most people are familiar with, believe, know, have heard of.
Everyone's heard of that one. So, but estrogen is another. And again, testosterone converts to estrogen. That conversion is done with aromatase. And so basically, with that, you have more activity with a man, I think, than more with the women, at least in our clinical experience, because most of the time we're either giving or women already have it. And so that conversion enzyme is not as. So if we want to do an aromatase blocker or inhibitor, then that's where that conversion from test to estrogen. But estrogen does play a role. And just so you know,
men need estrogen for erectile function. They just don't need too much estrogen.
Correct.
Where women, if we don't have enough estrogen, we have negative side effects like vaginal dryness, pain with sex, atrophy, vaginal atrophy, decreased lubrication. So estrogen is a very important role in sexual health for women.
Yes. And so it does, again, play a role in men. It just depends on the man.
Yeah.
So some men tend to feel better and function better with a higher estrogen level and some with a lower. And again, there's a range. And so we're not talking about high estrogen, but with a higher end of that range. And so it really depends on the man, and they will give you feedback, but it does play a role in sexual function.
Absolutely.
But for women, absolutely, because it's the predominant, hormone. Again, testosterone is the most abundant circulating, but again, we're estrogen, dependent. And so we do vaginal dryness and hot flashes and atrophy and all that stuff. So it does play a huge role for vaginal health in women.
Which then plays a huge role in overall sexual function.
And satisfaction.
Yes. And satisfaction.
Yeah, absolutely. So progesterone is next, on the list. Again, a lot of basic, receptors in all over the body. So I will start with progesterone. Obviously, balancing that is important for good sexual function and satisfaction.
Balancing the estrogen.
Correct.
That's one of its main roles. But it also plays a big role in our ability to sleep, in mood, which also has an effect on our desire and our drive.
So the key there is it affects sleep and mood. So how does it do that if the concept of you only need progesterone if you have a uterus is present? So that's a myth that you only need. That'll be another myth.
That's another myth. You're interested in myths. We've done a whole podcast on myths around it. This one was not on there, but it should have been.
Yes.
That you only need progesterone if you have a uterus. That is not true.
No, but that is such a common misperception that you only need it, and including to one of the biggest and, again, most misrepresented set of data in medicine, and definitely for treatment of women, is the WHI, because they did a whole arm that if you were only placed on that synthetic progesterone if you had a uterus. And so we're talking about back to one of the biggest studies in hormones in women, in hormone in women. But the bottom line is, if it affects sleep and mood, we clearly have progesterone receptors throughout our body, and that is the case, and including the brain. And so you are right, Farideh, sleep and mood, and you're going to have better sexual function and satisfaction if you are sleeping.
And you're balancing your estrogen.
Yes, it's perfect. So then again, we're coming down to some ones that you've never maybe heard of. We'll actually keep that one for last. And so basically
Oh, you're going to make me keep scroll, she's saying.
Yes, keep scrolling.
Skip. We've got 3 more, and she wants to leave the one that was next for last.
Yes,
so you'll have to keep
listening. I think that is one that, again, is known in like the functional medicine regenerative world, but maybe not overall across the board, is not heard or understood well.
Okay.
And so, but one of the other 2 that work together.
Yep. I was going to say the next 2 they work together. That's a great way to put it. So we'll break them down. We'll talk about the first one being dopamine, and the second one being serotonin, but we'll start with dopamine.
So it's really like the gas in the brake for sex. And the gas in the
all
stop,
gas.
The gas and
all gas, no brake.
All gas, no brake.
That's dopamine. Yes. All gas, no brake.
So the dopamine is the gas of it. It's starting. So like, again, you're igniting, like, again, it is going to increase your sexual desire.
Yep. It is the brain's reward system. That is the short and sweet answer to what dopamine is.
And all the healthy lifestyle habits will actually get you increased dopamine.
Along with sleep.
Healthy
exercise.
Lifestyle habits.
Yeah. I know, but I feel like we need to.
Keeping it so short.
I know, but food, sleep, exercise.
Exercise. Yes. I agree. And sun, getting outside. But one of the things, like if you think about dopamine, it's the rewards, but it also is, a form of wanting exciting things.
Yeah, doing new things.
Doing new things with your partner would increase, dopamine, and just doing new things like eroticism is something that women actually like across the board. And just look back to 50 Shades of Grey. I thought women
blew up for a reason.
Yeah, blew up for a reason. So women are looking for that. So a little excitement, something different, or rituals, that you decide on as a couple. Those may all increase dopamine. And then the stop.
The brake.
The S for stop.
No gas, all brake.
Yes, or the brake is serotonin.
Yes.
So that is the opposite. They work together.
Yep. Where serotonin most people know about is that it helps with mood regulation, right? We see it in antidepressants. But one of the biggest negative side effects of antidepressants that patients struggle with is the negative effect it has on their arousal.
So if you are talking about antidepressants that affect an increase in serotonin because they're selective serotonin uptake inhibitors, that basically serotonin lasts longer, and therefore you have more of a break on your sex drive. And a negative side effect is, a significant decrease in sex drive.
So high levels of serotonin can cause a decreased sex drive, delayed orgasm for some, or the inability to orgasm.
Yes.
We hear that with some patients on medications.
Yeah.
So it's all break. But we still need it for mood regulation.
Yes, but in a healthy balance. I think one of the side effects potentially of the antidepressants is that you're really talking about, maybe it's a little out of balance then.
Yes.
But it's helpful for mood. But then it has a negative
and emotional well-being.
But a negative effect on sex drive. Right. So again,
healthy
that's
balance.
A medication that has to be right for the patient. But a lot of times, if we think about perimenopause and menopause in women and symptoms, sleep and mood is a big thing. And if we could optimize progesterone,
we may prevent
the need for medication and side effects. And so that's just something to think about. So what is the last and final one? And we would love to hear some feedback on anyone that's tried oxytocin.
Because that's it.
That's
the last one's oxytocin. So maybe a little bit less commonly known as dopamine and serotonin, because I feel like those are terms that you hear more often medically, where oxytocin, like you said, it's more common in the functional medicine world.
So I also think the key difference is we're talking about like dopamine and serotonin, some neurotransmitters that are going to affect sex drive, but you're not really using them as treatment. You're using to we're increasing serotonin to help with something else with a
Yeah.
potential side effect, but oxytocin is something we can use. And
It's
so
something
we
can
can
take.
actually take that, we can have that compounded for a patient, and it's known as the love hormone, right? And so,
I was waiting on that. The
yes,
love
the love
hormone.
hormone. So it's again something that is released with
Physical
connection,
touch.
physical touch, childbirth.
Yeah.
Just like an intense kind of physical connection and touch. And so it increases feelings of that and emotional connection and trust. And so
It promotes bonding, intimacy,
wanting to cuddle.
wanting to be involved with your partner, being
Or
intimate with your
potentially
partner.
cuddle. Yeah.
Well, that's it.
Like
being
it's
involved.
a cuddle hormone.
It's a cuddle.
It's a love hormone, the cuddle hormone. Let's just call it what it is.
Okay. It's the love cuddle
Maybe
hormone.
some men want to cuddle.
It's the love cuddle
Maybe
hormone.
some women want to cuddle more. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it could potentially work is the whole point.
Yeah.
You may want to
absolutely.
cuddle more with it. So it's the love cuddle hormone.
It is.
Yeah. So anyhow, let us know
I feel like
if there
you need hearts around you right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's enchanting, isn't it? Something that I used, today with her, and she completely, was surprised by my comments, like her enchanting comments. But
Yeah.
again, sometimes you're soft and I'm the balance for that. And then likewise, right now,
Yep.
I'm showing a softer side and you're not. It's common.
All right. So let's talk
Yeah.
about this love
Yeah.
hormone, your cuddle hormone.
Maybe you need a little oxytocin.
Maybe I need a little more oxytocin so I can be a
Yes.
little more cuddly.
Yes, exactly. So I'm going to get that for her.
So oxytocin is something that we can get from a compounding pharmacy
yes.
that can be utilized as a troche, so a meltable underneath the tongue
Yeah.
to increase oxytocin.
Yeah. So these are all things that can affect your sex drive and your sex life and function and satisfaction. So if you have any experience with oxytocin or some feedback on one of the other hormones that you've used or had optimized, we would love to hear it, and leave it in the comments because we will deep dive into anything sexual wellness or wellness. And we want to thank you for listening today.